Am I live? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Toadstool Tarot. I'm going to do a little interactive. Never fails. The delay between StreamYard and YouTube. I wait for the countdown. I wait for it to start and kick in. It doesn't. It seems to be more than about 20 seconds behind because I have to jump over to YouTube and click the mute button. Don't know why that doesn't happen to other people. Maybe I should just leave the YouTube window shut when I'm going live, because I've got the comments box here on the screen. Anyway, if anybody's here, welcome. Hello. We're doing an interactive walkthrough today to the Tarot of Hearts. This is fairly recent. It's from US Games. Hello, Red Wing. I was debating whether to do this or not. I seem to be only doing live interactive walkthroughs these days, and only when I get a deck worth sharing. And that's not very often, maybe once a month, if that. But I did get a couple recently, and I hated to wait on this one. But at the same time, Simon at the Hermit's Cave and Martin of Martin's Musings both did really good walkthroughs already. And I thought, am I just repeating what they've already done? But actually looking at it, I think I have some different things to say about it than they did. So we're going to go ahead and do it, even if you might have seen these cards already. So first of all, US Games, what are they doing now? They're doing something. They seem to have settled into a new marketing packaging program. I don't buy a lot of decks, but I have bought several US Games decks recently, and they're all being packaged like this now. So they all come in these sturdy boxes. They all have this little angled, it's an angled, I don't know if you can see it. It's a little bit subtle, but there's an angled, not exactly a thumb insert, but a place where you can separate it from the bottom of the box. And they're coming in these really sturdy boxes, practically close to wood. It's really, really good cardboard. The other decks I got like this were the Mind's Eye Tarot and the Aquarian Tarot. And the boxing packaging is the same. I believe the Aquarian Tarot is sort of regular cardstock with a bit of a sheen to it. But all the others seem to be linen. So this one is linen, Mind's Eye's linen. I also have another one coming up. I think it's called the Star Maiden Tarot, and that seems to be linen. So yeah. Hefty boxes. I love these hefty boxes. They take up less real estate than the Llewellyn boxes, the big magnetic ones, which are nice. And I actually kind of prefer lift-off two-part boxes. These are a little bit larger than I would prefer. If anybody from US Games is listening in, these are nice size, but they're not really portable. They're sort of like home shelf size. It'd be nice to have a two-part box that would very readily fit in your shoulder bag to carry with you. These are a little bit big, a little bigger than they need to be. The reason they're this size is because of the booklet inside, which is larger than the cards. Now, I think US Games could very easily create a booklet the same size as the cards and not have to have a larger box. That's my suggestion. These come in, a box with a little ribbon to pull the book out, and the cards inside are recessed in a little well here. That's another thing. With cards this size, I mean, these are sort of regular size cards, but they're not in any kind of inner box. And the packaging in here in the insert is just sort of like extra wasted cardboard. It's just filling space in order to make room for the book, which is larger. So if they could redesign the book to be the same size as the deck and have a two-part box, it'd be a deep box, might even be deeper than average because the book might be thicker. And this is a pretty thick book. Did you look at that? This book is 287 pages for a little white book. That's not what I call a little white book anymore. It's, I think, what they call perfect bound, which is kind of glued binding, which is a little bit of a reservation I have with this because it's so tightly bound, but it tends to be the kind of thing that if you really, pry it open, it will kind of crack the binding and may even have the glued in pages coming out. So I'm trying to be really careful with it. I'm kind of waffling around like I usually do. Let me go back to the cover art. There is some gold trim on the box, not on the cards. And I guess this is Isabel Hayes's favorite art from the deck. And every card in here is like a little masterpiece, a little work of art. And there are many I like better than this. So maybe she chose this because it was her favorite. I don't know. It's not one of my favorites. I know people love to see animals and they love their lions, and I'm not really a big animal person. In the tarot, I see the necessity of it on a strength card, but this wouldn't have been my first pick for the cover art. The cover art on the booklet is her, I think this is the death card, pretty sure. This booklet, for it being so thick, I'm not sure why it's thick. Maybe it's the paper that's kind of thick. It doesn't need to be, because we have about a page to a page and a half per card. There's a very short introduction, and then we go right into the major arcana, the minor arcana. There's a full color image on each page, and I guess you need a certain degree of thickness to the paper so the images won't bleed through. We have the description of the artwork, which is really helpful. We don't always get that from our deck creators. And then we have a little interpretation, and then we've got keywords sort of for upright and reverse meanings, I guess, although she's referring to them as open heart blocked and closed heart unblocked. Um, Also, I should indicate there's a little. This is something they're starting to do too. There's like meet the creator in the back with a photograph and a little bio. It tells you a little bit about her. And in the beginning of the intro, it tells a little bit about sort of why it's called Tarot of Hearts, H apostrophe arts. She sort of speaks about how she is an artist, obviously, about the connection between hearts and the arts. So she likes that sort of interconnected idea of how like you can't have the arts without heart, or the arts, bring out emotion. That kind of, there's a heart art connection there. That's kind of what this is all about, I guess. And a lot of the images in here uh, include representations from the arts, like paintbrushes, musical notes or instruments, theatrical costumes and staging, cinema, all those elements of the arts, which I don't know. I don't think that's particularly important. It's just something, I guess, a concept that she decided to run with. And it's interesting in terms of the artwork, but I don't think it has like a great deal of bearing on the interpretation of the cards, other than to just sort of keep in mind that human beings create arts, and we do that from our heart, from our emotions, and we have that connection there. So yeah, I guess that was important to her. Now there's a picture over in the back. Meet Isabel. And when we look through this deck, you'll see there feels like a lot of world culture representation in here, particularly Latin America, I think. And it's hinted at in her bio. She said, born in Guatemala City and raised in Madrid and Los Angeles. She's now living in San Francisco. So, yeah, I do get that feeling of, well, about Guatemala, but Mexico, Latin America in general. It's a very colorful deck. It's got those vivid colors of carnivals and sort of village, sort of folk art representation and celebration. I'll show you inside the box where the insert is. I just took the cards out. There's a little doggy in the bottom of the box, which is cute. And your ribbon here. This ribbon's a little more solidly affixed than the last couple I got, which seemed to fall out. The card size, I think they're slightly shorter and slightly wider than the average tarot card. Hello, Simon. And so I like the cardstock. It's not your typical linen. It's a little bit thicker, a little sturdier. But I love the linen texture. Also, we've got edging on it that's almost a non-edging. It looked in Simon's walkthrough as kind of a matte yellow, or I guess it could be gold. I don't know. When we talk about gold and yellow, sometimes there's a fine line between the two. It doesn't look metallic, which I prefer. In fact, the other one I got, when I get to it, the Star Maiden, has a metallic blue edge. And I'm really not big on those gilt edges or metallic edges. That metal just doesn't feel, for the most part, like it relates to paper cards. It's at odds. It's sort of like natural beauty, but you're wearing like metallic nail polish. It's just, I don't know. It just gets me. Simon couldn't believe the color difference when looking at it through the lens. Yeah. So this is not as bright a yellow as I'd like. Actually, it looks brighter yellow on screen than it does in my hands. It looks more like a just kind of a toned down white. It's not white. It is more of a yellow, I guess, or gold or whatever. I like the size and shape of these cards. I like them to be pretty much standard tarot size or close to. I'm not a fan of oracle size cards. In fact, I love it when my oracles are tarot size cards. So let's see. We sort of covered where Isabel's from, her cultural background, which I think you'll see or pick up on in some of the images. The backs of the cards, I loved at first, and it's still okay, but as I see closer in detail what the images actually are, I'm a little put off because it's actually hearts, sort of like we're looking inside chambers of hearts. And I'm not big on that sort of biological representation of hearts where you see ventricles and, all the sort of passages of the blood flows through and all that stuff. I'd rather have more of a, Valentine heart or something that's more stylized than reality. But the colors are pretty. And actually, at first glance, it almost looks like sort of a heritage, what do you call those? Family shields kind of thing. Heritage. That's the wrong word, I think. Yeah, it looks sort of like, hey, Kristen. It looks kind of like, yeah, it would be on, a family crest or something like that. It's pretty. I like the corners. Oh, and this one, hard as I might try to find the ubiquitous copyright info that US Games has, it's not on this deck. They did sneak it onto the backs of the Star Maiden, which I'll get to whenever I do that interactive walkthrough, but I'm thrilled it's not on this deck. So we have a nice clean back, nice sort of linen card texture. And we also have red labels, red banners. Now, I mentioned to Simon that I'm a big fan of Giuliano Costa, who did is it the Mystical Tarot, the Jack-o'-lantern Tarot, the Pre-Raphaelite Tarot, and most recently the maybe Simon will pop it in there. I can't remember the name of it, but it sort of reimagines the RWS in his style. But anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. It has red borders on the bottom, and the red borders, Tarot of Traditions. That's it. Thank you, Simon. I didn't buy it. I pre-ordered it, or I ordered it not realizing I was pre-ordering it and it wouldn't due for 3 months. And so I took it off my pre-order list. And then when it finally came out, I was excited to see it. But the borders, those red borders, put me off. And I think it's because they're in such stark contrast to the colors, even though it's a really colorful deck and the paintings are gorgeous. The red, it's really feels like it clashes to me. Whereas in this deck, they don't. This one works really well because there's a lot of red in the palette of the artwork. So as I mentioned before, in terms of the relation of hearts to art, we have a lot of our arts featured in the cards. And you'll see when we get to the cups, she kind of replaces cups with hearts, which makes perfect sense to me. Again, the reference to the arts here doesn't seem to particularly impact the interpretation of the cards. I think it's just a bee she had in her bonnet about a concept she had relating to arts coming from the heart, or the emotion involved in um, painting, sculpting, making music, doing theater, filmmaking, whatever. But I mean, they're all really wonderful little masterpieces. And like I said, they remind me a lot of Carnival, like in, is it Brazil? The Carnival Festival, whatever the big, fancy big parades are that have the costumes and all the glory. And anyway, but there's also kind of a sense of folk art and world art influences from different countries. So anyway, there we have the Fool, and we have the Magician. There are a lot of women in this deck in different than usual archetypal roles, but there are also a lot of men, so that's good. There also seem to be people of many cultural, racial backgrounds, and that's very fitting, I think. It feels like a world deck to me. High Priestess. High Priestess is a little bit on the sexy side. I kind of prefer my High Priestess is a little bit more contemplative, but she's not bad. The Empress. Beautiful Empress. I like the Emperor. It's sort of very dark-skinned Emperor with the beard is almost purple or blue. I can't tell if he has blue eyes or green eyes, but yeah, very unusual looking. And I like the glowing orb in his hand. The Hierophant, a little bit different. The Lovers, we have two Lovers cards. We have this one and this one. You can take your pick. I kind of prefer this one. It's not specifically clear that it's two women, but it kind of hints at it to me with the braid, the hair braid, although that's not strictly specific to women, but I like that this could be an either or non-binary kind of thing. And it's colorful. I like the fruit basket. The little dog that's in the bottom of the box is on the table there resting. And yeah, I just kind of like the warmth of this one. I think in this one, it's not that I mind the masks. I don't think I like the little curly Q appendages on the masks, and I'm not sure. It just kind of gives me a different feel to Lovers than this other card. I mean, this one feels sort of more affectionate. This is more, I don't know. I don't like sexy in my cards. It's just okay. So I had a choice and I chose it. The Chariot. The Chariot's fun. We've got a little vinyl wheel on the Chariot, and I love that like the horses are almost like little dolls or figurines, and that they're facing different directions. Usually they're struggling in opposite directions. Here they're both kind of facing in. The one with the mask is erotic feeling, says Kristen. Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. And I don't read the lover's card as an erotic card. In fact, a lot of times I don't even read it as a couple or a romance. I read it as a partnership that could be partnering with somebody in business or work or a friend or a relationship with another person, or even a relationship with yourself, your earthly self versus your higher self. So there's that way of, for me to look at the lovers, you know, you need to love yourself. So anyway, I like my lover's card to be a little bit more open to interpretation. Strength, again, not my favorite card, but she has a little bit too much of a, I don't know, come hither look in her eyes or something. Not what I think of as the woman in the strength card so much. She's not really paying that much attention to the lion. The hermit. I love the hermit card. Now this one reminds me of, is it Krishna maybe, or Kali, or I don't know if you know what I mean, but maybe it's the bluish hair. And it seems to be like in almost like dreads or something. But from the back, it has a very, well, like I said, a different cultural feel to it. Like maybe somewhere in Africa or Asia. And yet I don't feel in this deck like she's, what's the word, where they sort of like take other cultures for granted or use them. I'm losing my words today, but this feels very natural. She's not appropriating. She's not appropriating other cultures, I don't think. There are references there, but it feels natural. Maybe because she's from Guatemala and lived in Spain or grew up in Spain. There's that element of world culture in there, even though, I mean, there are, you know, other countries referenced in here. I don't know. Maybe it's different when it's a white American creator than, you know, somebody from another country. Maybe I just have a skewed view of that. I don't know. Wheel of Fortune. We've got this film strip on here from the cinema. You know, it's okay. It pulls me into her idea about, you know, incorporating the arts in the deck, but I really, and I haven't worked with the deck, but I don't really get the feeling that the arts have particular significance to the tarot as subject matter. Yeah, I'm just not sure, and I'm not sure she's made that clear in the book either, although I haven't read much of it. I just sort of glanced at it. Oh, I also wanted to mention that something else she did after the keywords. After every card, she has a character or figure from the arts that she has quoted, which is really nice. So there's also kind of a little book of quote references from famous artists and musicians and performers. What was the last card here? Wheel of Fortune. Let's see what that one says. So the quote on that one. Oh, it's an excerpt from As You Like It from William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. So that was her quote to go with this card. So I kind of like that it's like, a book of quotes too. Justice, beautiful card. The Hanged Man, I love this card. I really love the color palette in this deck. It's warm and vivid and bright. You've got your blues and greens and things, but the emphasis here is on heat and warmth. And maybe that sort of warmth of the body, blood flowing through the body, being pumped through by the heart, red blood, the red natured, vitality or something. Death, this is a card she used on the booklet. Temperance, I love this Temperance card. I love the sort of seated, cross-legged positioning of it. It's very different and interesting. You don't have that same, passing liquid to liquid through two vessels. It's interesting. We have these two symbols on the front of the bodice. I'm trying to remember if the lower one, is that fire? And the upper one is earth? I always get them mixed up. I think the bottom triangle, a solid triangle upwards, is fire. And I think the one facing down with a bar across it, I believe that's earth. So that's kind of interesting. And they've got a snake and a heart, I think, in one hand, and I can't quite tell if that's the brain in the other. My lighting's so bad. Let me get my handy dandy flashlight. I'm not sure if that's a brain. It's divided into 4 colors: pink, red, yellow, and green. But the heart also is sort of divided into colors. So I could see heart and mind as being, heart and brain, heart and mind being appropriate for temperance, sort of balancing thought and emotion. I feel sorry for this deck, as the day after Curious Travels came in and this slipped in to the shadows rather quickly. It'll come out again soon, though, I'm sure. Are you talking about attention to it? It didn't go out of print already. Tell me that. Yeah. So, as I said before, I've been doing about a deck a month, and I was going to save this one, but since I recently bought 2 decks, which is rare for me, I didn't want to save them for a couple of months. And I didn't want to be too far behind the curve. Simon did a walkthrough yesterday, or a couple days ago. Martin of Martin's Musings did one yesterday for this deck. And so I thought, while it's still fresh in people's minds, I'd throw my 2 cents in there and see if I could gather yours. So as always, throw your comments in the comments so I can share them with everybody. The Devil, I love the Devil card. He's got a very mischievous expression. Very different for a devil. I think this might be one of my all-time favorite devil cards. And I love how he has his captives as like marionettes on strings. Oh, okay. It's not out of print. The other deck just grabbed his attention more. Okay. The Tower. Do you love the colors in this deck, or is it too much color for you? I really like it. And I think I mentioned to Simon, I think this would be a really good Christmas deck because it really feels, it's full of, there's lots of color and light and dazzle and ornamentation around Christmas. And I think this is that kind of a thing. The Star. Interesting figure in the Star, not kneeling. So that's sort of like a little little provocative dance. The Moon and the Sun, I'm not as much of a fan of. The moon is full face, and it just looks like a big face. It doesn't look like a moon to me. Also, I'm not a big fan of the crustacean in the moon card. I get that the moon is Cancer, and we have a crab here versus not a lobster. What do you call it? Boy, am I losing my words today or what? From Louisiana, crawfish, crayfish. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not fond of this one. I kind of want to see more of a moon and more of that nighttime scenery. If I was going to have animals in this card, I'd rather have the two dogs than the crustacean. That's just me. The Sun, this card you might see familiar. I think the image was used when she participated in the Pride Tarot, which was a group effort. And this looks very much like a sun shield or a sun face from like Mexican religious art or something, tribal art. Who were in Mexico? Was it the Aztecs? I think Aztec art, maybe. I always get the Aztecs, the Incas, and the Mayans mixed up. I think it was the Aztecs in Mexico. Judgment. Now this one is sort of like, it looks like kind of New Orleans, street celebration, which I like. We've got musicians and musical instruments and stuff. But also there's something about it that reminds me of Cubist art. And I watched a couple of video clips the other day on art movements that I think I included on my Toadstool Tarot Facebook page. And one of them had to do with symbolist art. It's funny because I think symbolist art, metaphysical art, and surrealist art, they sort of like came in order. And symbolist art kind of followed Art Nouveau. So it came out of that decorative arts and got more into like symbolic abstraction. And I had a little aha moment. This was sort of like when we moved from Tarot de Marseille sort of archetypes to more symbolism in our tarot cards. I thought that's interesting. Now, did the tarot follow the symbolist art movement, or was it influenced by tarot the other way around? You know what? what came first. I'm not sure. But if you look at symbolist art like Odilon Redon, can't think of the deck that was modeled after him, something Dreamer. Anyway, after that, we had Pixie and other artists that started doing things that were very, very symbolic, and all the psychologists and psychiatrists, Jung and Freud, came about, and everybody started interpreting dreams, and all the symbolism popped out. And I think that's kind of where that stuff started to come into tarot, as the tarot movement changed, or tarot art changed. And early on, we see things like, symbolism, then cubism, metaphysical art, they call it, which was by Giorgio de Chirico and Carlo Cara. And they use things like mannequins and, desolate street scenes and just very melancholy images, which we get a lot of in tarot art, all these melancholic images where they're very emotional, but also symbolic of emotions. And yeah. But anyway, this just kind of popped out at me when I saw it. Also the futurist movement, which is kind of related to cubism too, in terms of like movement of geometrical shapes and figures. The world, this is very much what's her name, oh my god, who is the Parisian performer, black artist, that wore banana skirts and very exotic. I can't think of her name, but very famous. She was from America. She moved to Paris. Josephine Baker. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, doesn't it look like Josephine Baker? Yeah, and she sort of made it big on the Paris stage. Yeah. Very theatrical. Also love the variety in this deck. It's not like, even though there's sort of a theme of the arts, it doesn't really stay in one place. It really jumps around, and yet it's still connected. It doesn't feel disconnected. Ace of Wands, I love the rainbow-like quality of the Ace of Wands. So now we're into the minors. And we have a flute there. I like the idea of the flute and music being related to the rainbow spectrum, as we have sort of the musical notes in an octave, in a scale. Two of Wands. So we've got sports performance here, arena. Three of Wands, music. Oh, maybe this whole suit might be music, actually. I'm not sure about that sports thing. The shoes kind of look like an acrobat or something, or a dancer. Could be a dancer, maybe. And then here in the three, we've got musical notes. And four, we've got an Indian influence. Five, we go to black and white with just a little stab of color. And I like that it's sort of like a pared down, this is kind of like a Dadaist play on stage. Again, another art movement. Then we're back to musical scales and sort of diva on stage. She's got a very Josephine Baker headdress on. Seven of Wands. Eight of Wands. Love the prism. Simon mentioned an album cover using this. It was Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Did a similar thing. Nine of Wands. Interesting. We've got a statue in here. We have statues in the paintings of De Chirico. And then also remind me a little bit of both De Chirico and Rousseau, with the green, foliage in the background, like a jungle theme. Kristen thinks of the pyramid outside the Louvre. Yeah. It's more that shape and with those facets like that, right? In glass. 10 of Wands. This one is very playful. This reminds me of the Tarot for All Ages, which I love, which has a very playful, childlike quality to it. And we've got walking on stilts. Interesting, though. I mean, it looks like, I guess it's a tower, but it looks like a lighthouse. And it's sort of like as if walking on stilts through water to the lighthouse, which would be quite a burden to try to do. But I don't know if that's water or not. It looks almost more like boulders. Also would be hard to walk on boulders and stilts. Okay, now we jump to an Egyptian influence with the King of Wands and the Queen. And then the Knight. They've put these in backwards, but they won't stay that way. And the Page of Wands. Okay, now we have the cups, or shall we say hearts. The Ace of Cups, again, a very graphic. It's not, it's got the ventricles and stuff, but there's enough else going on there to distract me. It doesn't bother me too much. It's still a little bit stylized. It's not like a photograph out of a medical journal. Two of Cups. She very pointedly replaced all the cups with hearts, as if to maybe suggest that cups is her favorite suit, since it's the Tarot of Hearts. And emotions being related to the arts, hearts and arts. The Four. This also reminds me a little bit of the Mara Lune Tarot in terms of some of the cultural representation, sort of Latin American skin tones and different hairstyles. Five of Cups. I love this one, sort of like a bit of masquerade, but it's sort of like under a cloak of stars. Are they stars? They look like X's and stars. I'm not sure. Six of Cups. You know, when I saw this card, this is probably what made me think of Christmas. Like, this would be a great Christmas deck. Maybe because of all the blocks and things that look like presents. And also it looks like snow in the sky, like almost like they're inside of a snow globe, but the snow is on the outside, not the inside. Seven of Cups. This is interesting. An interesting juxtaposition of someone painting themselves in the mirror for the Seven of Cups. Need to think about that a little bit. Confronting one's choices as one paints. How much of what you choose reflects on you? Is that a way of looking at the Seven of Cups, maybe? Eight of Cups. Nine of Cups. This reminds me of Flashdance. 10 of Cups. So almost like heart pinatas. Oh, bye, Kristen. King of Cups. Queen of Cups. I'm just sort of glancing back. Not sure if it's consistent enough. I was going to say maybe these cups are focused more on literature and books, but not all of the cards have books in them, I don't think. I was trying to figure out whether each element or each suit related to a specific art, but I don't know if there's quite enough consistency to that. You know, so we've got a painter on the Page of Cups, so maybe not. And then if we go to swords, which would be more related to books if you go by this pen for pen and ink. But here they related it to music. I'm not sure what the Two of Swords is holding. They look to me a little bit like the hammers that are used in playing a hammered dulcimer, if you've ever seen anybody do that. And here we've got, are they pencils or brushes or both? I'm not clear. And I think it's on a palette, but there is a hint there of a cracked egg too, or a cracked mirror. Not sure. It's not that reflective. It's got cracks and creases in it, and it almost feels like it's in a frame, but the frame looks very organic. So I'm not sure. Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is a little more subtle. It looks like the Three of Swords to me, because we're used to seeing the Three of Swords kind of, like that, pierce through a heart. And the fourth sword, or pencil or brush is down there. Five of Swords. This one reminds me of the what's the was it the Seafarers or the Mystic Sea, or there's a tarot something about the Mystic Sea, and somehow the color and the placement and characterization of the figures in this remind me of that deck. I can't think of the name of it, but it's something about the Mystic Sea. If you Google Tarot of the Mystic Sea, you'll probably get the name of it. It's got sort of surrealist kind of imagery in it. This one again reminds me of both de Chirico and Rousseau. Has that kind of like jungle foliage coloring, and it's a paintbrush in it, and the guy wearing a sweater vest. This could be a portrait of de Chirico, or even Frida Kahlo's husband, whose name I can't think of at the moment, but definitely artists from the early part of the 20th century. I love this mischievous Seven of Swords absconding with pencils and a pencil sharpener. So even though the arts don't have, I don't think, significant bearing in the reading of the cards, they're kind of refreshing to see them framed within the action or activity of the cards. Eight of Swords looks very brain-like. And maybe that's, because the cage is one of your mind's making in the Eight of Swords, possibly. Don't know why the brain is green, but Nine of Swords. So many of these images remind me of metaphysical art paintings, and obviously surrealism as well. And this could be a Frida Kahlo, and she had her accident and was all bound up in braces and recovering. And we've got the King. Queen. Even though this has a world flavor, it really does have more of a Latin American flavor to me than any other culture. Knight of Swords. Page of Swords. This one's funny to me. Look at the bizarre composition here. Like her other leg in the back, if you look, there's no way that connects to her hip under the skirt. It's just like she has one leg, and then that other one, God knows how that is sort of just like tucked under the edge of the skirt. It's very strange. This actually does remind me a little bit of the kinds of poses that Juliana Costa does in his decks. And it's a little close to his painting style too. But that really bugs me. I mean, I can live with it. But even the arm, maybe it's the way the hair hits, but I'm not even sure you can physically hold your arm that way. It's like it might be out of a socket if you try to hold it that far back at that height. But yeah, that back leg is just bizarre. Ace of, we're on to Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles. Again, a little bit too flamboyantly sexy for my taste. Sort of a Vegas showgirl. Don't like my Vegas showgirls like we get in, what's his name's decks? The Gilded Tarot and so forth. Amy Winehouse. Yeah, I get that too. Three of Pentacles. I like this. You know, the one culture in this deck that doesn't feel somehow like it fits to me is Asian, you know, Japanese or Chinese. I think this would be Japanese. I'm not sure if it rises to the degree of cultural appropriation, but it just sort of doesn't feel like it fits in with the Latin and African, Asian. I don't know. There's something about the whole kimono thing. It just is sort of like included for the sake of inclusion, but it doesn't feel, maybe because there aren't enough in the deck, or it stands out weird. I don't know. And this is like definitely South American celebration on conga drums and wonderful Latin American feel. Makes me want to go listen to like Brazilian music or Latin music. Five of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles. Seven. This reminds me almost of the Loteria. You know, it's like Mexican folk art relating to like farming communities and little villages in Mexico and stuff. Maybe like a fair celebrating harvest or something. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles. The Nine. What has she got? A bird? Yeah. She's on a stage with a bird. Is she performing? Is the bird performing? Are they singing together? I don't know. Well, our Nine of Pentacles usually has a woman with a bird. Sort of part of her pride. 10, we've got a harpist on stage. The King. King Elvis with his record. Queen. It's really hard to make out the Queen's face. Oh, I see. It's down there. She's wearing a tiara. Yeah, it's a little confusing. I thought her face was up there. From back here, it almost looks like that black is her black hair. The Knight. And the Page of Pentacles. It's a little bit like surrealist film or some of those early silent movie European fantasy mysteries. Is it Children of Paradise by Marcel Carne or something? I don't know. White-faced figures and masks. Anyway, so that's it. The Tarot of Hearts. Will I use it a lot? I don't know. I mean, I think it has a certain novelty to it that I think will occupy me for a while. I don't know if I get the sense that this is a long-term occupation for me, but time will tell. Simon, if you get a chance, maybe go back and watch the beginning of this, because I got into discussions about the production that U.S. Games is doing these days with the boxes and decks and so forth. They seem to have shifted their marketing scheme into heavy two-part boxes that are a little bit too large with extra wasted cardboard inside that is only there to accommodate the oh, and something else I want to say. If U.S. Games ever watches this, both the box and the deck inside were shrink wrapped. Now, another issue about the deck inside fitting this box and not having its own box within a box, it's like if you want to take the deck somewhere with you and you don't want to take the whole box, then you're going to need a pouch or a bag or something. But I still think there's a way to make it so the boxes fit the deck and book. That the book might need to be thicker, but doesn't have to be as big as it is for this box. It could be the size of the cards, just a thicker book, and still be in a two-part box. Anyway, that's my suggestion. But I do love the sturdy box. I love the two-part box. I love the insert to lift the top off easily, and I love the linen cardstock. So anyway, thank you, whoever tuned in or whoever's tuning in at a later time. And I will be back probably next. I don't want to do it today. I don't want to do two at one time. And I've had you here over an hour already. Next one is, I think, the Star Maiden Tarot, which is really nice. It's another, oddly, online, and the prices went up with the quality of the U.S. Games new packaging. I think this was about $41 or something on Amazon here. And oddly, this one, slightly smaller box, but similar production quality, I think was like maybe 29, 21, 29. It was in the 20s, I think, here. But I think in the UK, it was as much as 40 something. So I don't know why that is. But anyway, more on that later or next time. And thanks for joining me. And I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye.